Hi, Scope readers. My name is Mackenzie Caro, and I'm so excited to take you behind the scenes of Vanished, my latest article for Scope magazine. It's the story of one of the greatest mysteries in American history, the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart disappeared in 1937 while she was flying over the Pacific Ocean. She had been attempting to fly around the entire world. On July 2nd, she was flying to one of her last stops on the trip, Howland Island, but she never made it there. Somewhere along the way, she got lost. Neither she, her navigator Fred Noonan, nor her plane were ever found. It's been 82 years, and the question still remains. What happened to Amelia Earhart? During my research for this story, I learned so many fascinating details about Earhart's life. In the 1930s, Earhart was a huge celebrity in America. Her boundless courage dazzled the public. Being a pilot was still extremely dangerous back then. Yet Earhart didn't seem to be afraid. She set many flying records.
Amelia Earhart, proving women could match men in skill and daring, crossed the Atlantic alone in 1932.
Thousands flocked to hear her speak. Newspapers received hundreds of letters a day from people wanting to get in touch with her. Reporters followed her everywhere. But people didn't just love Earhart's record-setting flights. They also loved her. Her down-to-earth attitude, her seemingly effortless style, and the friendly way she spoke to fans and reporters.
On the Atlantic flight, I encountered storm and ice conditions. On this flight, practically no bad weather at all, only a few little rain squalls. I saw the moon and stars for most of the night. But in both flights, of course, I was very glad to see land.
Today, Earhart is also remembered as a fierce advocate for women's rights. In the 1930s, many still believed that women did not belong in the workforce. Women were shut out of most professions, and those that were able to get jobs were paid far less for their work than men. Every time Earhart climbed into her cockpit, she was shouting to the world that such discrimination was wrong, and that women deserved to be treated equally. During my research, I pored over the books she wrote, and I listened to many of her speeches and interviews. This is one of my favorite quotes. "I know the discrimination against women in various forms of industry," she said. "A pilot's a pilot. I hope that such equality could be carried out in other fields so that men and women may achieve equally in any endeavor they set out." When I decided to write this story, I knew that it was going to be a challenge. Over the years, there have been thousands of books, articles, and documentaries written about Earhart and her disappearance. Google Amelia Earhart and you will get over 9 million hits. I knew that sifting through all that information and deciding what to include in a single article was going to be difficult. But part of the writing process is choosing the details that are most important to the story. Still, my first draft was 4,000 words, and it needed to be half that length. During the editing process, I had to make tough decisions about what to keep and what to get rid of. Luckily, in magazines, the words of an article are only one part of how a story is told. There is also what we call the article's packaging. The packaging is all the text features we include along with the words of the story, like the headline, subheadings, the photos and captions, and maps. For this article, I pulled some of the interesting information that I had to cut from the story into different text features. For example, In an earlier draft, I had a whole section about women and their rights in the 1930s, but it was interrupting the flow of the narrative too much. So I put that information in this sidebar instead. As you read, think about what the sidebar, as well as the other text features in the article, contribute to the story. Writing this article was like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle. It took many drafts, 8 in total, to get it right. But in the end, all those drafts were worth it. It was an honor to be able to tell you the story of such an iconic figure in American history. I came away with a deep respect and admiration for Amelia Earhart and her courageous life. And I hope that after reading my story, you will too.